What does research look like in Zambia? Our two fellow scientists, ZUZANA and LENKA, spent 3 weeks in Zambia, Africa, researching climate change. Let's look at the details in a series of short videos with their engaging story. How does research in Zambia differ from research in Europe?
I think there's millions of differences because first of all we are in completely different cultural environment and of course natural environment, because we are not sitting in our comfortable office in Europe, but we are somewhere in Western Province, which is the least developed province of Zambia. So it takes lots of challenges, of course. And so I would say that the first one is definitely you need to be culturally sensitive, because you have to realize that your respondents are not people who are like-minded like you, right? You are not people from your tribe, I would say this in this word. There are people who are having different history, who are from a completely different socio-economic class. So this is something that needs to be kept in mind, to really be sensitive and not to harm the respondents, because of course we have some ethics in the research. So we have to very much evaluate what's comfortable, what's not comfortable, how to do the research that we are not harming the participants in a way that we are, for example, promising them something that we can't never fulfill. So that would be one aspect, that the ethical side is definitely more demanding than doing the similar research in Czech Republic. But also it varies in the technical side, because in here, if we want to go to do an interview, so we usually go by tram or bus or by car, or maybe we are walking there. But in Western Province, it's really not working like this, because there's probably only one road made of asphalt, and the rest of the roads are sandy roads or dirty roads. So every single trip to the field required to have really good car which can take you there. It also required to have a good driver who can get you out if you get stuck somewhere. And of course, it requires different types of connections, because in qualitative research, we have so-called gatekeepers, who are people who are opening the door, right? So these are the people who are intermediating the first contact with necessary people. So in our case, it was people in need. So when we needed to go, for example, to see some ministry representatives, so it is very important to have these gatekeepers, because if we would come to the ministry, for example, just without any announcement, no one would probably talk to us. But if we are having this gatekeeper who is known in the area, so then it's much easier to get access to these authorities. And as well, it is providing us some sort of legitimacy that what we are doing is somehow valuable for the region. And of course, sometimes we are meeting quite, I would say, curiosity respondents that we might not probably meet here in Europe. So, for example, we had an interview with a prince, because in Western Province there are two governance structures. There's a statutory structure which is being represented by the ministries, but then we have customary structures that are some traditional leaders. So in each village lives a village headman, then there are some area chiefs, and at the top of the hierarchy is the king. And we were not meeting the king himself, but we at least met the prince. And it was actually really interesting. It was actually a really interesting interview, because when you go to the ministries, so you are hearing quite the same story, and you are hearing the same story from people in the communities. But when you go to someone who is representative of this royal establishment, so suddenly the view is much more complex, because he was providing us with lots of history that is really essential for understanding the region. So I think that it was one of the most curious interviews we had. There are, of course, some other practical challenges apart of having a good car. And because we were in Zambia in the rainy season, so it meant that there was like lots of rains. And but unfortunately, these rains very often bring along the power cuts. And if there is a power cut, so there is no running water. And then after the whole day in the field, not being able to take a shower is actually sort of first world problem. But for us, it was quite important, and especially it was also important because it is an area with high malaria rates. So we had to use quite a strong repellent containing DEET. So it's actually quite a chemical thing. So after the whole day of being in these like sandy soils, being rubbed by the repellent and not having a shower, not really a perfect way. But on the other hand, I think these things are sort of enjoyable, which makes the whole research quite adventurous. And also, like being able to step outside of our comfort zone is very enriching because when we are talking to our respondents from the side of the farmers, for example, so the people are very poor. They don't have any running water. They don't have any proper meal to eat. They don't have no electricity. And of course, it's very superficial to say that these experiences are bringing us closer to them. That's not true, and I'm not saying that, of course. But on the other hand, it's just like facing the reality that is happening there, that even though you are living in sort of comfort, so you are still facing challenges that are completely unknown to those challenges from Europe.